What would you do if your own father told you not to touch the food because you weren't even invited? That's exactly what happened to me this past Mother's Day. I showed up not for drama, not for attention, but with a surprise that would have left my mom speechless. A fully paid $300 to $800 luxury retreat to Skyrock, Sedona. 3 days of mountain views, spa treatments, guided hikes, the kind of getaway she once said she could only dream about. But before I could even hand her the envelope, I got blindsided in the most humiliating way possible. Let's rewind a bit. When my dad told me over the phone that they were just doing a small thing this year, I actually felt relieved. Finally, maybe they understood. I'm building something real, a construction business that's taken every ounce of my energy to grow. No offense, but skipping a trip down to Tucson sounded like a break I didn't know I needed. He even said, "Don't bother coming. Focus on your business." I took him at his word. That was my mistake. 2 days later, my fiancée Ellie and I were at our favorite bar with my buddy Derek when she dropped the first red flag. "Your sister's been posting nonstop about some big Mother's Day surprise." "I think you've been set up." Ellie's not the paranoid type. When she says something's off, I listen. And she was right. Sunday morning, we drove 2 hours from Phoenix to Tucson. As soon as we turned onto my parents' street, it hit me. Both sides of the road were packed with cars, at least 15. The small thing turned out to be a full-on catered event. My aunt's Range Rover was parked out front, and the same uncle who won't drive anywhere without AC had somehow brought his Hummer down for the occasion. So much for low-key. I had the envelope in my pocket. Ellie squeezed my hand. We stepped through the front door without knocking and followed the noise to the backyard. Right as we reached the sliding doors, I heard my uncle laugh. Thought Brody wasn't coming. Then my dad, with a smirk I could picture without seeing, said, "Yeah, probably for the best." That douche would just bring down the mood with his contractor stories. That hit harder than I'd expected. I froze behind the doorframe. Ellie's grip tightened. This wasn't just a gathering, it was a deliberate exclusion. The backyard had been transformed, elegant flower arrangements, catering staff tables set like something out of a wedding planner's Instagram. I counted at least 30 people. I was the only one who didn't get an invitation. The same patio they refused to let me renovate for free. Jen's friend knows a guy was now the site of a party I wasn't welcome at. Cousin Theo spotted me first. "Holy Brody, you made it." He meant well, but now every head turned. My dad tried to play it off with a fake laugh. "Just joking, son." Then turned his back on me like I was some door-to-door salesman. As I walked in, I heard whispers. He showed up empty-handed. Still driving that same truck. Didn't Jen just land a big investor? I even caught one of them say, "Still has dirt under his fingernails." Accurate. I'd been doing stonework with the crew the day before. Because unlike Jen, I actually work. I found my mom and went to say hello. She didn't smile. She frowned. "Why didn't you call?" she asked. Then looking down at my empty hands, she added, "You didn't even bring anything for your mother." Wow. Real classy. Then she turned to Ellie, her voice honey-sweet with a poisonous undertone. "And you brought your girlfriend." "How nice. Did you know this is a family event?" Ellie didn't miss a beat. She raised her left hand. "Actually, I'm his fiancée. We got engaged last month." The ring shimmered in the Arizona sun. Guess our announcement got lost in the mail, just like our invitation. I reached for the envelope. I could have handed it over right then. But something stopped me. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a setup. They didn't forget me. They erased me. And they were about to regret it. They thought I showed up empty-handed. They thought I still lived in the shadow they'd shoved me into years ago, but what they didn't know, what they never bothered to ask, was just how far I'd come. 5 years ago, my life was duct tape and drywall dust. I started with nothing but a beat-up F-150, a dream, and 3 maxed-out credit cards. I was patching fences, pouring concrete in the blistering sun, and sleeping in that truck to save gas money. While Jen was off finding herself in Europe on my parents' dime, I was dragging rebar in 100-degree heat just to afford my business school books. They called me just a laborer, but labor built the empire they pretend not to see. My first job that felt real, a $6,000 pool install for an old couple who remembered me from high school football. They took a chance on me. Didn't care that I didn't have a flashy logo or a website, just that I showed up early, worked late, and never made excuses. That job turned into 2, then 5, then 10. 1 referral at a time. I hired my first employee, Miguel, from a group of day laborers outside Home Depot. He didn't have papers, but he had more skill and hustle than half the licensed contractors I'd met. I paid for his certifications. He paid me back with loyalty I've never had from my own blood. By year 3, I was driving 200 miles in 1 week to hunt down custom tile for a client, sleeping 3 hours a night, dodging supply chain collapses like I was playing business Jenga, and somehow the clients never knew. Their projects stayed on track. To them it was seamless. To me it was survival. Then came the pivot. A local news anchor hired me for a luxury install, posted about it, and my social media blew up overnight. I started saying no to the $50K builds that weren't worth the headache and yes to the ones that would put my name on the map. We doubled revenue, then doubled it again. These days were booked 3 months out, 3 crews, 20 employees, a 22% profit margin last quarter. That's major league in Phoenix contracting. But I never bought a Lambo, never needed a Rolex. My flex, I gave Miguel a 15% raise and a company card with spending limits he sets himself. But here's the thing, none of that mattered to my family. I still wasn't enough. They never saw the kid sleeping in his truck, only the dirt under his fingernails. They still saw the boy who fixed fences, not the man who built an empire. My dad once walked through a $300K lake house job and told the client the deck slope looked off while we were in the middle of laser leveling. He said it like he was helping. All he did was shake the client's confidence until I showed them the actual plans. My mom, she told me if only you applied yourself when I made the dean's list while working 30 hours a week. Jen, she's been the same since birth. Plant-based until she sees a bacon cheeseburger. Environmental activist who lectures me on carbon emissions, then takes 45-minute showers and shops Shein like it's a sport. You want to know what broke me? Not the years of labor, not the sleepless nights, not the setbacks. It was hearing my own father call me a douche behind my back. Like I hadn't given up everything just to prove I was worthy of a seat at the table. But they forgot something. I wasn't that broke teenager anymore, and I didn't come empty-handed. I came with something they couldn't buy, steal, or spin with hashtags. Something that would expose exactly who they were. They never saw me coming. I didn't drive 2 hours down to Tucson just to be told to grab a drink like I was some delivery guy who showed up to the wrong house. This wasn't some petty drop-in. I was there with purpose. In my pocket was a sleek black envelope, the kind you use when something matters. Inside it, a fully paid reservation for a luxury retreat at Skyrock Sedona. 3 days, 2 nights. All meals, spa treatments, guided hikes, even a private dinner overlooking the mountains. The whole package. Champagne on arrival, Mountain View suite. The kind of thing my mom once called her dream escape. And I was going to hand it to her. I wanted to. Despite everything, I thought maybe, just maybe, it would mean something. But instead, they treated me like I was crashing a party. Like I was the embarrassment they hoped wouldn't show up. As everyone began lining up for the catered lunch, my dad raised his glass and said, "Loud enough for everyone to hear, Brody. We didn't include you in the head count for the food. Just grab a drink or something." It was like the world hit pause. Every fork froze midair. Conversations died mid-sentence. I looked at him stunned. "You serious right now?" "Language, Brody," he barked back like I was 16 again. Then he doubled it down. "We paid $35 a head. You weren't on the list." I scanned the crowd. Some people looked away, pretending to be deeply fascinated by their wine. Others whispered. A few smirked. And that's when my mom stood up like she was doing me a favor and said, "Brody, we told you not to come. You chose to ignore that. We can't just magically make food appear." I swear if Theo hadn't spoken up, I might have lost it. "Brody can share my plate," he said. "I won't eat much anyway." But my dad waved him off. "Nah, he can wait till everyone else has eaten, if there's anything left." That was it. That was the moment the last thread snapped. Not in rage, not in tears, in clarity. 17 years of trying, of proving myself, of showing up despite everything. And they still saw me as an inconvenience, a burden, a punchline. Ellie, who'd been silent till now, stepped forward, calm, composed, but with steel in her voice. "Just to be clear," she said, "you're telling your son he can't eat because you didn't budget for him." Jen, of course, jumped in like a wasp at a picnic. "Nobody asked for your opinion. You don't even belong here. So keep your mouth shut." That was her mistake. I turned, looked Jen dead in the eyes. "Watch your mouth? You don't get to talk to her like that. Neither does anyone else here." Ellie slipped her hand in mine. "Babe," she said, "we can grab lunch on the way home. This isn't worth it." And that's when it hit me. No, it wasn't worth it, but not in the way she meant. Because I wasn't leaving humiliated. I wasn't walking out like some kicked puppy. I reached into my pocket, pulled out the envelope, held it up like a dealer laying down a royal flush. "Just so you all know," I said, "I did bring something." I turned to Theo and handed it over. "Will you read this for me, bro?" He looked confused at first, then carefully pulled out the papers. His eyes widened. Then clear and steady he read, "Skyrock Wellness Retreat, Sedona. Premium rejuvenation package for 2. 3 days, 2 nights, Mountain View suite. Spa treatments, guided meditation, private dinner included. Guests Rick and Diana, total value $300 to $800, paid in full. You could feel the shift, like the oxygen had been vacuumed out of the backyard. I saw people pulling out their phones, Googling it. Aunt Candace's eyes practically bulged out of her head as she scrolled through the Skyrock website. Mom's jaw dropped, literally, like she'd just seen a ghost in a Gucci tracksuit. And then the backpedaling began. Brody, we didn't know, Mom stammered. Look, we were just joking around, Dad added. You know how family is. Sit down, have some food. But I stayed standing. That package, I said calmly. It includes everything Mom said she wanted once, but figured she'd never get. The mountain views, the spa, the fancy dinners. Daniel tried to insert himself with some weird new age wisdom. Sometimes the universe. Shut up, Daniel, 3 people said in unison. Then I looked back at Theo. They can be transferred, I said. I want you and Sarah to have them. His mouth opened, closed, then finally Brody. This was for your parents. Not anymore, I said. They made it pretty clear where I stand in this family. Dad stepped forward red-faced. You can't do that. Those are our reservations. They're mine, I replied. I paid for them. I can give them to whoever I want. And with that, the decision was made. Theo and Sarah were going to Sedona. Rick and Diana were staying home with their $35 buffet, their catered flower arrangements, and their crumbling illusions. I wasn't their stray dog anymore. I was the one who brought the steak and took it with me when they slammed the door. You know that moment in a movie when the villain realizes they've lost that quiet, stuttering beat between power and panic. That's what I saw in my parents' eyes when Theo held up the envelope and said, "This is real." And I just nodded. I already called Skyrock. I'll switch the names first thing tomorrow. Mom stepped forward, hands clasped like a desperate politician. Brody, please. This was all a misunderstanding. But I'd spent a lifetime watching her redefine reality when it suited her. Really, I asked. Because it felt pretty intentional when you told me not to come. Felt intentional when you counted every plate, every chair, every guest except your own son. We were just surprised she tried. You know, we love you. I laughed. Not bitterly, not angrily, just with the kind of clarity that feels like oxygen returning to the lungs. Sure, you love the version of me you can control, but you can't guilt-trip the guy you excluded and then demand his generosity. Daniel, still trying to play spiritual tech guru, chimed in. Perhaps this is the universe aligning your path with your inner truth. Daniel Jen snapped, shut up. For once we agreed on something. Dad looked furious now. You're being dramatic, he said. You're making a scene. No, I corrected you all made the scene. I'm just finally walking off the set. That's when Ellie slid her arm into mine. Cool, steady, unshaken. She didn't need to say a word. But Jen wasn't done. This is so petty. We're family. I turned to her slowly. You said Ellie didn't belong here, that she should keep her mouth shut. You tried to humiliate her in front of everyone. She came uninvited. She's my fiancé. Jen's lip curled. Well, congratulations. Hope she enjoys your little dirt empire. I smiled. Calm, centered. Funny you say that, because last month you DM'd her asking if we needed a brand ambassador for your expertise in online visibility. You remember that? Jen blinked. Oh yeah, Ellie added sweetly. Right after your Instagram rant about capitalism exploiting creatives. Gasps, literal gasps. Aunt Candace muttered, I knew it. I knew she didn't have any clients. Tiffany, Jen's younger sister, stepped out from the crowd, arms folded. She doesn't. She talks to herself on fake business calls all day. I caught her last week doing a pitch to nobody. Told me she needed content for the vibe. The spell was broken. Years of curated favoritism cracked like cheap tile under pressure. Then Theo stepped up again. Just so we're clear, he said, you're really giving this trip to us. Yep, I said. You and Sarah haven't had a vacation in years. You've had my back more than most people with my last name ever did. He looked stunned. Brody, you paid our mortgage once, anonymously, when Sarah had surgery. I shrugged. You brought me dinner every night when I broke my ankle. She watched my dog so I could make that supplier meeting. I don't forget who shows up when it matters. Then came the final blow. My dad. Jaw-tight, face flushed, asked, so, that's it, years of raising you and you're just cutting us off? I met his stare, unblinking. You raised me to be independent, self-sufficient, to handle my business. Then I nodded. Congratulations. It worked. By the time Ellie and I made it back to Phoenix that night, my phone had 17 missed calls and over 30 texts. None of them got answered. I slept better than I had in years. The next morning, while most people were still sipping coffee, I was in my attorney Emma's office. Emma's the kind of lawyer who doesn't ask too many questions, she just gets it done. We'd met a few years ago when I needed airtight contracts for my business. She's sharp, unflinching, and not afraid to go nuclear when necessary. That day, we rewrote my estate plan. A new will. A full business succession outline with one specific clause right in the middle. No blood clause. It explicitly excluded my parents and sister from any share of my estate, no matter the circumstances. If they contested it, everything would automatically go to charities they despise. Emma even smirked when I told her to include environmental nonprofits in Jen's name. "Ooh," she said, tapping the keyboard. "That's gonna sting." Then I transferred the Skyrock reservation to Theo and Sarah. They cried when I sent them the confirmation. Sarah texted a photo of the twins jumping on the couch in celebration. I blocked my parents and sister across every platform. I'd given them a chance, more than one. But that day in the backyard, they made a choice and I made mine. Business didn't slow down. If anything, it grew. That same week, we landed a new client, a local news anchor with a custom backyard project that would be featured in a home design magazine, the kind of job that cements reputations. Miguel stepped up hard during all of it. Managed timelines, handled client calls, kept the crews moving while I cleared out emotional baggage. So I made another decision. I called him into the office and handed him a contract. Starting next quarter, I said, "You're officially a junior partner." Miguel stared at the paper like it was a trick. "You're giving me part of the company?" "You've earned it," I said. "You've been family since the first day you grabbed a shovel and told me you'd work harder than anyone else." He didn't speak for a long moment. Then he said, voice cracking, "I never thought I'd own anything in this country, let alone this." I smiled. Neither did I, man, but here we are. And while my chosen family grew stronger, my birth family crumbled. A few weeks later, my receptionist buzzed in. "There's a Rick, Diana, and Jennifer here to see you. No appointment." I paused, then said, "Send them back." They shuffled in looking nothing like the smug trio from Mother's Day. Mom was pale and tired. Dad looked like someone had deflated him. Jen, well, let's just say the ring light had been off for a while. Dad tried to play nice, commented on the office view, asked if the awards on the wall were real. "No," I said. "I bought fake trophies to impress people. What do you want?" They danced around it at first. Family talk? Jen dropped a line about a lot of drama lately. Mom said, "We've been worried about you." Then the real reason spilled out. They needed $25,000 to finish developing Jen's wellness app. I almost laughed. "You mortgaged your retirement," I said, to fund a buzzword blender app with no product and 0 users. Jen glared. "It's about impact, not profits." Impact. I raised an eyebrow. "You paid for a gold foil logo and a TikTok ad that got deleted in 36 hours. You didn't build an app, you bought vibes." I laid it out. For $25K, I could have hired a real dev team. For $5K even. But they never asked for my advice, because in their eyes, I still wasn't worth listening to. Dad got defensive. "We made mistakes, but we're still family." "No," I said, "we share DNA. That's not the same thing." They looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Then I showed them something they did understand: pictures of Theo and Sarah on the Skyrock terrace, champagne flutes in hand, mountain sunrise in the background. "That could have been yours," I said. "But you threw it away the moment you told me I wasn't invited." Jen tried one last Hail Mary. "I have a job offer in Chicago," she muttered. "I just need $3,000 for the security deposit." "Call a bank," I said. "Banks want income verification." "So do I." Mom's voice broke then. "Please, Brody, just give us a chance to make it right." So I did. I handed them a card for a financial advisor. "Call her. I'll pay for the first session." "That's it," my dad barked. "It's more than you deserve," I said. Then I stood, held the door open, and said the words I never thought I'd have the courage to say. "If you ever want a relationship, one built on mutual respect, not manipulation, the door's open. But it'll be on entirely new terms." They didn't move. So I walked past them down the hall and into the life I built without them. 3 months passed. They tried to reach me, voicemails, messages through relatives, even Facebook friend requests from burner accounts. But I was done letting noise dictate my peace. Instead, I built. The company broke ground on our biggest project yet, a full backyard transformation for a retired NFL player. Infinity Edge Pool Outdoor Cinema. Chef-grade kitchen, the works. It's going to be featured in a national home design magazine. Miguel, he's thriving in his new role as junior partner. He took that opportunity and ran with it. Already built out new hiring systems, brought in fresh talent, and even negotiated our first commercial landscaping bid. Meanwhile, Ellie and I flew to Denver for Tiffany's housewarming. Uncle Joe came down from Alaska. Theo and Sarah drove in with the twins. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt what a real family gathering should feel like. No passive aggression, no backhanded jabs, no keeping score. Just laughter. Shared meals. Inside jokes. People who showed up because they cared, not because it looked good on Facebook. While we were there, Ellie and I finalized our wedding details. We're getting married next weekend. It'll be small, beautiful, personal. The ceremony is set at a venue overlooking Camelback Mountain, the kind of view that makes your heart slow down and your soul speed up. Uncle Joe's officiating. Miguel's my best man. Tiffany's coordinating everything. Theo and Sarah are bringing the twins, and Ellie's grandma's flying in from Seattle to walk her down the aisle. As for my parents and sister, they're not invited. Not because I'm bitter, but because I'm free. Free from the need for approval that never came. Free from playing the role of the forgotten son. Free from rewriting my worth just to fit their expectations. At the reception, we're doing assigned seating. One of Ellie's friends made the calligraphy place cards by hand, elegant little scrolls that flutter in the breeze. When Theo's cousin jokingly asked if Jen had a seat, I just smiled. Didn't budget for extras. Uncle Joe nearly spit out his drink laughing. The whole table cracked up. And me, I just sat back, looked around, and took it all in. Because this was my real family. Built not born, chosen not forced. And when the music plays and Ellie walks down that aisle in her simple, stunning white dress, the same one she wore when she came to that disaster of a Mother's Day, I'll be waiting. Not just for her, but for everything we've built together. No drama, no rejection, no empty seats meant to guilt me. Only love. Only loyalty. Only people who earned their place at the table. Story 2. We didn't forget your birthday. We just had much better plans than wasting time on your pity party, my mom snapped, after skipping my 32nd for a spa trip. You're 32 now. Stop being so needy and expecting everyone to revolve around you, I replied. Then don't ever call me again, while cutting off every account and moving out of state. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. This is going to be a long one, but trust me when I say the payoff is absolutely worth it. I need to get this off my chest because what happened over the past year and a half has completely changed my life. And honestly, I'm proud of how I handled it. I, 33 male, always been the responsible one in my family, while other people my age were partying through college and racking up debt. I was learning a trade, saving money, living below my means. I drive a paid-off 2019 Chevrolet Silverado needed for work. Live in a modest house I bought 3 years ago, and I've got a decent emergency fund plus retirement savings. Everything you're supposed to do as an adult, right? My family situation is complicated. My older sister Jessica is 35 and has been the golden child since birth despite being a complete disaster. My parents treat her like she's some kind of misunderstood genius who just needs the right opportunity, when in reality she's a lazy, entitled brat who's never held a steady job in her adult life. She's had maybe 20 different careers: life coach essential oils, MLM, Instagram influencer, freelance photographer, personal trainer, massage therapist, dog, vlog walker, Etsy, shop owner, party planner, real estate agent. Lasted 2 months and a bunch of other crap I can't even remember. Meanwhile, I've been steadily building my career and reputation. I'm the guy people call when they need electrical work done right the first time. I've got repeat customers, referrals, and I'm respected in my industry. But to my family, I'm just the reliable one who fixes problems and happens to have money when they need it. The financial stuff started small about 6 years ago. Dad's construction business. He does concrete work, hit some rough patches, and I helped out with a few hundred here and there. Made sense. Family. Helping family during tough times. Jessica needed help with rent when her yoga instructor certification didn't lead to the career she expected. Mom's car needed major repairs. Normal family stuff that happens to everyone. But then it escalated and escalated and escalated some more. Dad started asking for $600 to $900 every few months when jobs got delayed or materials cost more than expected. Jessica would call me sobbing about credit card bills, and I'd transfer her $400 to help out because she was really trying this time with whatever new business venture she'd started. Mom needed dental work. That insurance didn't cover another $800 for me. Dad's work truck needed a new transmission, $3,200. Jessica's laptop died and she needed a MacBook Pro for her photography business. $200 to $400. The real kicker. They all act like I should be grateful for the opportunity to help, like it's some honor to be their personal ATM. Jessica literally once told me, "It's so sweet that you're successful enough to help family," while showing off her new designer purse that I essentially paid for through the rent help I'd given her the month before. Not once did any of them pay me back. They'd promised to when things got better, but there was always another crisis, another emergency, another reason why now wasn't the right time. Meanwhile, I'm watching Jessica post Instagram stories from expensive restaurants and nail salons while I'm eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch to save money because I just bailed her out again. But the breaking point. The thing that made me realize I wasn't a son or brother to these people, just a funding source that came last March on my 32nd birthday. And it's where this revenge story really begins. Let me set the scene for you. I don't make a big deal about my birthday usually, but turning 32 felt different somehow. Maybe because I was looking around at my life and realizing that while I was doing well professionally and financially, I felt pretty isolated from my family, despite everything I'd done for them. So I decided to do something low-key, but nice. I told my family I was having people over Saturday afternoon for a barbecue. Nothing fancy. Just figured we'd grill some burgers, hang out in the backyard, maybe play some games. I cleaned my house top to bottom, bought way too much food, set up the patio furniture, got the grill ready. I was actually excited about it. My buddy Jake, we went to trade school together, and he's an HVAC guy now. Showed up early with his portable speaker and cornhole boards. "Dude, this is going to be awesome," he said, helping me set everything up. "When's your family getting here?" I told him probably around 2 p.m., same time I told everyone else to come. Jake knows my family situation pretty well. He's been around for some of the drama over the years, so he just nodded and started setting up the cornhole boards. Friends started showing up around 1:30. Jake brought his girlfriend Sarah. My coworker Tommy came with his wife, a few other guys from work, some neighbors, couple people from my softball league. Good group of about 12 people total. Everyone brought snacks or sodas. The grill was going strong. Music was playing. It was actually turning into a really nice afternoon. Except I kept checking my phone like an idiot. See, my family has this pattern that they're always late to everything, but they show up eventually. Mom always sends these long, rambling texts on my birthday about how proud she is and how I'm such a good son. Jessica usually sends at least some emoji spam or a selfie. Dad's more of a phone call guy. He'll call sometime during the day to check in. But 2 p.m. came and went. Then 3 p.m., then 4 p.m. Not a single text call or message from any of them. Jake noticed me being weird about it around 4:30. He walked over while I was flipping burgers and said quietly, "Everything good, man? You seem distracted." I just shrugged. Family's running late, I guess. He gave me this look like he wanted to say something, but held back. Jake's got good instincts about people, and he's never been a huge fan of how my family treats me. The party went until about 8 p.m., and it was genuinely fun, despite my family being complete. No shows. People were telling me they had a great time, thanking me for hosting, saying we should do it again soon, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was really wrong. This wasn't just being late, this was complete radio silence on my birthday. After everyone left, I sat on my porch cleaning up and feeling sorry for myself. That's when I made the biggest mistake of the day. I decided to check social media to see if maybe they'd posted something about being busy or running late or whatever. What I found instead changed everything. I opened Instagram, and right there at the top of my feed was a story from Jessica. Multiple posts throughout the day that I'd somehow missed while I was hosting my party. The first one was from around noon, a mirror selfie of her and 2 of her girlfriends getting ready with the caption, "Girls' Day." Finally, some quality time with my favorites. Then another one from 1 p.m., the 3 of them plus my mom and an Uber all dressed up heading somewhere. Adventure time with the best women in my life. But it was the 3 p.m. post that made my blood run cold. All 4 of them at some fancy rooftop restaurant downtown. Big smiles, elaborate cocktails, and appetizers spread across the table. The caption read, "Treating my amazing mom to the good life. She deserves everything and more. Love my girls." I stared at that photo for probably 5 full minutes. My birthday. They spent my birthday having an expensive girls' day while I was at home setting up a party they never intended to come to. But wait, it gets worse. I scrolled through the rest of her story posts for PM group photo at some expensive boutique with shopping bags. 5 p.m., all of them getting mani-pedis at a high-end salon. 6 p.m., more food at another restaurant. 7 p.m., dessert at some artisanal ice cream place that charges $12 for a sundae. The last post was from 8:30 p.m., a boomerang video of all 4 of them laughing and toasting with fancy coffees. Best day ever. Love these amazing women so much. My birthday. They'd planned an entire expensive day out and completely ghosted me on my birthday. I recognized some of those places from when I'd looked them up before that rooftop restaurant. I checked it out once thinking about taking a date there, but decided against it because entrees started at $35 and that was just too much for my budget at the time. The salon they went to charges $80 minimum for basic services. The boutique they shop that sells purses that cost more than most people make in a week. This wasn't some spontaneous hangout. This was a planned expensive day out that probably cost $4 to $5 per person. And somehow my 32nd birthday just didn't register on their radar at all. But here's the part that really made me see red. I scrolled back through Jessica's regular posts, not just stories, and found something from 3 days earlier. A photo of her and Mom having coffee with a caption that included planning the perfect girls' day with my bestie. Mom works so hard and deserves to be spoiled. Can't wait for Saturday. Saturday, my birthday, Saturday. They'd been planning this for days and knew exactly when they were doing it. I screenshot every single story post before they disappeared. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have. I started looking into how they could afford all this. That's when I remembered something that made my stomach drop. The emergency credit card. 2 years ago, Jessica had called me crying about some car trouble that ended up being a $1,200 repair. She didn't have the money and her credit cards were maxed out. Red flag number 1 that I ignored. I felt bad for her, so I added her as an authorized user on one of my credit cards with a $5,000 limit just for emergencies. She promised I'll pay you back as soon as I get back on my feet. I'd honestly forgotten about it because she hardly ever used it. Maybe a charge here and there that I didn't pay much attention to. But sitting there on my porch, staring at those Instagram posts, I suddenly had a very bad feeling. I logged into my credit card account online and pulled up the statement for the past month. $89.47 Sephora. 3 days before my birthday, $156.32. Some boutique I'd never heard of. 2 days before my birthday, $67.50. Nail salon day before my birthday, $234.78. The rooftop restaurant, my birthday. $89.23 at another boutique, my birthday. $127.40. The high-end salon, my birthday. $56.89 expensive ice cream place, my birthday. $43.67 an artisanal coffee shop, my birthday. Just in the past week, she'd spent over $800 of my money funding her lifestyle. But it got worse when I started going back through previous months. I spent the next hour going through 12 months of statements, adding everything up. The emergency credit card had been Jessica's personal shopping fund, closed makeup restaurants, Ubers, subscription services, gym memberships, groceries, gas, you name it. If it could be purchased with a credit card, she'd bought it with mine. Total damage over the past year. $4,847 of my money spent on everything except actual emergencies. And the kicker, she'd been posting about most of these purchases on social media, often with captions thanking her amazing family for their support. She literally thanked me publicly for funding her lifestyle while simultaneously ignoring my existence. But I wasn't done investigating. I started going through the other accounts and services I'd been paying for to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. That's when I really started keeping detailed records for the first time. I should have been tracking this stuff all along. Netflix showed her watching 3 different shows throughout my birthday afternoon, while I was hoping for a text. She was binge-watching reality TV on my account after spending my money on her girls' day. Spotify showed she'd been listening to music all day, probably while getting ready. And during their Uber rides, Amazon Prime showed multiple orders from the past month, all shipped to her address. Using my free shipping, the family phone plan I'd been covering for 3 years. Her phone had used 47 gigabytes of data the previous month. For reference, I used about 12 gigabytes. She was streaming videos, posting on social media, and living her digital life on my dime. I sat there until almost midnight, building a complete financial picture of how my family had been using me, the credit card charges, the monthly bills I covered, the loans that never got repaid, the bailouts and emergency help over the years. Once I started actually tracking everything systematically, the numbers were staggering. Conservative estimate, I'd given my family over $28,000 in the past 6 years. $28,000 that could have been a down payment on a bigger house or a new truck, or my retirement fund, or literally anything that would have benefited me. Instead of funding their comfortable lifestyle while they treated me like I didn't exist. That's when something inside me just broke. Not broke, like I was sad or devastated. Broke like a switch flipping. I wasn't angry anymore, I was cold clinical. It was time to systematically destroy the comfortable life I'd been subsidizing for years. I started that night and worked methodically through every digital service they'd been leeching off me for years. Netflix first logged in, went to account settings, and deleted all their profiles. Changed the password to something they'd never guess. Enabled 2-factor authentication to my phone number. Then, just to be extra petty, I changed the account name from Johnson Family to Jake's account. Jake would appreciate that when I told him later. Hulu was next. Same process. Deleted their profiles, changed password. 2-factor authentication. Amazon Prime took a little longer because Jessica had stored payment methods and shipping addresses. I removed all of that, deleted her shipping addresses, and changed the account settings so only I could make purchases or changes. No more free shipping for her endless online shopping addiction. Spotify Family Plan became just my individual account. No more premium music streaming for people who couldn't even remember my birthday, but I saved the big one for last. The credit card at 2:47 a.m. I called the 24-hour customer service line for Bank of America. The rep who answered sounded tired but professional. I need to remove an authorized user from my account and cancel this card number. I said, sure, I can help you with that. Can I ask the reason for the removal? The authorized user has been using the card beyond the scope of what was agreed upon, and I want to close their access. The rep walked me through the process. Removing Jessica as an authorized user would be immediate. They'd issue me a new card with a different number, which would automatically make her existing card invalid. Just so you're aware, sir, this will immediately terminate their ability to use the card, and any recurring charges they have set up will be declined. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Within minutes, Jessica's access to my credit was completely cut off. But I wasn't done. One more thing, I want to dispute several charges from the past few months that were outside the scope of authorized use. The rep explained the dispute process. Since I was the primary cardholder disputing charges made by an authorized user who exceeded their permission, I could challenge specific transactions. I identified the obvious personal shopping sprees and lifestyle expenses that were clearly not emergencies. We'll investigate each disputed charge. You should see provisional credits for valid disputes within 2 to 3 business days. About $2,400 in provisional credits coming back to me for the most egregious non-emergency purchases. I hung up feeling better than I had in months, but I was just getting started. The first text came at 7:23 a.m. the next morning. Jessica, Netflix isn't working. 7:45 a.m. Seriously, what's wrong with the Netflix? It won't let me log in. 815 m. None of the streaming stuff works. Did you change the passwords or something? 8:30. Hello? Why aren't you answering me? I was at work by then, starting a big commercial job that would keep me busy all day. Perfect timing. Honestly, let her marinate in confusion for a while. By lunchtime, my phone had 6 missed calls and about 15 text messages from various family members. Mom calling, Dad texting asking what was wrong with our Netflix account. Jessica calling from different numbers. The best one was a text from Dad at 11:47 a.m. Son, your mother can't watch her shows and she's getting upset. Can you fix whatever's wrong with the streaming stuff? Your mother can't watch her shows on my account that I pay for. After they completely ignored my birthday, I didn't respond to any of it. Just worked my job, had lunch with Jake and Tommy, and let my phone blow up in my toolbox. Around 3 p.m., I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Thinking it might be work-related, I answered. It was Jessica, and she was absolutely losing her mind. What the hell is wrong with you? She screamed before I could even say hello. My card got declined at Target, and I looked like a complete idiot in front of everyone. And now, none of our accounts work. What did you do? The entitlement in her voice was unbelievable. Not, hey, what happened, or is everything okay, but immediately jumping to accusations and anger. Sounds like you're having a rough day. I said calmly, don't give me that. I know you did something. My card hasn't worked since yesterday, and now I can't get into anything. Fix it right now. Which card are you talking about? Jessica, you know which card, the emergency one you gave me? Oh, that card. Yeah, I canceled it. Silence. Then I removed you as an authorized user. Funny thing about emergency cards, they're supposed to be for emergencies. Spending $800 in a week on shopping and restaurants doesn't really qualify. That's not. I was going to pay you back. With what money? You don't have a job. More silence. Then she tried a different approach. Look, I'm sorry about your birthday, okay? We just got busy and lost track of time, but this is insane. You can't just cut us off from everything. Watch me. I hung up and turned my phone off for the rest of the workday. That evening, I got home to find Mom's car in my driveway. She was sitting on my front porch looking like someone had died. Full dramatic morning pose, head and hands, shoulders slumped. The works. We need to talk, she said as I walked up. I unlocked my door and let her in. She immediately launched into this whole performance about how I was tearing the family apart over nothing, how Jessica was confused and hurt, how Dad was worried about me. I don't understand what's gotten into you, she said, sitting on my couch like she owned the place. This isn't like you. You've always been the reasonable one. The one who keeps the peace. Keeps the peace by funding everyone else's life while getting treated like furniture. Jessica made some mistakes with that card, but she didn't mean any harm. She's just going through a tough time right now and needed some support. What tough time, I asked. She doesn't have a job to be stressed about. She doesn't have bills to worry about because I pay for everything. What exactly is tough about her life? Mom got that look she always gets when she can't defend Jessica's behavior but refuses to admit it. She's trying to figure out her path. Not everyone finds their calling as early as you did. Mom, she's 35 years old. When exactly is she going to figure it out? That's not fair. She's creative and entrepreneurial. Those types of people need more time and support to find their niche. I pulled out my phone and showed her the credit card statements I'd screenshot. This is $400 worth of support just in the past year for someone who's supposedly struggling. She sure spends a lot on makeup and restaurants. Mom barely glanced at the screen. Money isn't everything. Family is supposed to help each other. You're right, family is supposed to help each other. So where was my family yesterday? That's when the truth came out. Yesterday? What about yesterday? She genuinely had no idea. No clue what day it was or why I might be upset. It was my birthday, Mom. I watched her face change as she realized. First confusion, then recognition, then panic as she understood how badly they'd screwed up. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. We just had this girls' day planned for so long, and Jessica was so excited about treating me to something nice for once, and I completely lost track of what day it was. Lost track of her son's birthday. Jessica planned that day to treat you to something nice. With my money on my birthday. While ignoring me completely. It wasn't like that. She didn't mean to, Mom. I saw the Instagram posts. You guys spent the entire day at expensive places posting about how amazing it was while I sat at home hoping for a text. She started crying then. Not real tears, but the manipulation tears she's used my whole life when she gets called out on something. We didn't mean to hurt you. We love you so much. You're such a good son and we're so proud of you. If you're so proud of me, why do you only call when you need money? She couldn't answer that. Here's what's going to happen, I told her. I'm done being the family ATM. No more credit cards, no more paying bills, no more bailouts. You guys are going to figure out how to live like adults, but what about the phone bill and the streaming services we can't afford? Then you'll figure it out or do without. That's when she tried the guilt trip. Your father's business is struggling right now. We might lose the house if you don't help us. Then maybe Dad should look into getting a regular job with steady pay instead of relying on his son to cover the gaps. She left after that, but not before trying one more angle. I hope you'll reconsider this when you've calmed down. We're still your family, and family forgives each other. Family forgives each other. But apparently family doesn't remember each other's birthdays, or pay back loans or show basic respect and appreciation. After she left, I made a decision that would really show them what nuclear looked like the phone plan I'd been paying for our family phone plan for 3 years. 5 lines total. Me, Mom, Dad, Jessica, and even Jessica's useless boyfriend Tyler, who hasn't had a real job in over 2 years, but somehow rated his own line on my account. The next morning, I called Verizon during my lunch break. I need to make some changes to my account, I told the customer service rep. Sure thing. What can I help you with today? I want to remove 4 lines from my family plan and convert to an individual account. Oh, okay. I should let you know, there might be early termination fees if any of those lines are still under contract. That's fine. Bill me for whatever it costs. The rep walked me through each line. Tyler's phone was still under contract, $180 fee. Jessica's phone had some kind of device payment plan, $340 fee. Mom and Dad's lines were clear, so the total for early termination fees would be $520. Are you sure you want to proceed? Absolutely. I need to give you a 30-day notice that service termination is scheduled, which is required by law. The lines will be disconnected exactly 30 days from today unless they're transferred to a new account. This was actually better than immediate cutoff. It gave them time to figure out their own phone service, but with a hard deadline. And, just to confirm, I'm removing my payment method from those lines starting today. So any new charges will need to be handled by the line users directly. Perfect. The whole process took about 20 minutes. I immediately sent a group text to all of them. Your phone lines will be disconnected in 30 days. You need to set up your own service. This is your only notice. Then I turned off my phone and went back to work. The panic started almost immediately. By the time I turned my phone back on that evening, I had 47 missed calls and countless text messages. Dad's texts were more practical but equally demanding. We need to talk about this phone situation. This is affecting my business. Customers won't be able to reach me if you cut off my phone. I can't afford $80 a month for phone service right now. Mom sent me an email since I wasn't responding to texts. I understand you're upset about your birthday, and we are truly sorry, but This phone thing is going too far. I need my phone for work at the dental office, and Jessica needs hers to look for jobs. Please reconsider this decision. We can work out the other issues, but we need reliable communication. I didn't respond to any of them. Let them figure out what the rest of us adults do. Pay for their own phone service. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I spent the next evening making a comprehensive list of every single account, service, and financial connection I had with my family. Now that I was tracking everything properly, the results were staggering. The loans and bailouts. Over the years, I had to estimate some of these since I hadn't been tracking properly. Dad's business emergency, $8, $200. Jessica's credit card bailout, $600, $700. Mom's medical and dental expenses, $4,100. Car repairs for various family members, $3,800. Rent help for Jessica, $5,900. Miscellaneous emergencies, $2,400 grand total from the loans and other expenses. Over $31,000 in direct payments, plus about $600 per month in ongoing expenses. $31,000 and $600 a month to maintain relationships with people who forgot my birthday. That's when I decided to burn it all down. I started with the easy stuff, logged into Costco's website, and removed Mom and Jessica from my membership called Sam's Club and canceled. Dad's membership entirely canceled Mom's Weight Watchers subscription, removed everyone from the family iCloud plan. Then I got to the big one, Jessica's car insurance. I called my insurance company and explained that I needed to remove someone from my policy. We'll need to give 30 days written notice for a policy change like this, the rep explained. But I can set it up to take effect automatically at the end of next month. Perfect. Please send the written notice to both my address and hers. Done. Jessica's car insurance would go from $89 a month to $227 a month in 30 days, assuming she could even get coverage with her driving record. But the real nuclear bomb was the BMW lease. Jessica drives a 2022 BMW X3 that she absolutely cannot afford on her own. I'd co-signed the lease 2 years ago because her credit score was in the toilet, and BMW required a co-signer. The monthly payment was $340 plus insurance plus maintenance. Way beyond her means, but she begged and pleaded and promised she was finally getting her life together with her latest business venture. I called BMW Financial Services. I need to discuss options for my situation as a co-signer on a lease where the primary borrower is not meeting the terms of our original agreement. Let me pull up your account. What specifically is the issue? The primary borrower was supposed to maintain insurance and make payments reliably, but they've already lost insurance coverage, and I have concerns about their ability to continue payments. I see in cases like this, we typically require the primary borrower to requalify for the lease independently, or find a replacement co-signer. What would that process involve? We'd need to run a new credit check and income verification for the primary borrower. If they can't qualify independently, they'd have 3 options. Find a new qualified co-signer, pay off the remaining lease balance, or voluntarily surrender the vehicle. Let's start that process. 2 days later, I got a call from BMW. Jessica had failed the independent qualification spectacularly. Her credit score had actually gotten worse over the past 2 years, and she couldn't provide proof of steady income because she didn't have any. The primary borrower has 3 options. The rep explained. Find a new qualified co-signer, pay off the remaining lease balance in full, or voluntarily surrender the vehicle. I already knew Jessica couldn't do options 1 or 3. She was about to lose her fancy car. 2 weeks after the car situation started, reality began hitting my family hard. Dad called me from his cell phone. He'd apparently borrowed money from somewhere to get a basic prepaid plan for work. Son, I think we need to sit down and work this out. This has gotten out of hand, has it? Look, I know we screwed up with your birthday. That was wrong. And we're sorry, but cutting us off from everything, that's nuclear. You're right, it is nuclear. 28 years of putting my family first. 6 years of paying for everything. And you guys can't even remember my birthday. Nuclear is exactly what this situation called for. We can't afford all these bills on our own. Just the phone service alone is going to cost us $200 a month. Then maybe you should have thought about that before treating me like an ATM. Your mother's crying every day. Jessica's about to lose her car. This is tearing the family apart. The family was already torn apart. Dad, I just stopped pretending it wasn't. He tried to negotiate. What if we set up a payment plan? We could pay you back slowly for everything over the years with what money Jessica doesn't work. Your business is inconsistent, and Mom works part-time at a dental office. You'd be paying me back for the next 15 years, assuming you actually stuck to it. So, what do you want from us? I want you to leave me alone and figure out how to live within your means, like normal adults. 3 days later, Jake texted me, "Dude, I just saw your sister at the bus stop on 5th Street. What's up with that Jessica taking the bus?" The BMW had been repossessed. Then I heard through the family grapevine, my cousin Derek, who's always been cool, that some interesting developments were happening. Mom and Dad were fighting constantly about money. Jessica had moved back in with them after not being able to afford her apartment. Dad was having to turn down construction jobs because potential clients couldn't reach him reliably on his cheap prepaid phone. Mom was working extra shifts at the dental office. Jessica had actually applied for jobs plural for the first time in years. The house of cards I'd been supporting for 6 years was finally collapsing, and they were being forced to face reality. 3 weeks after the car repossession, my doorbell rang at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday. I looked through the people and saw all 3 of them standing on my porch looking like refugees from a natural disaster. I opened the door because I genuinely wanted to hear whatever they were about to say. They looked terrible. Mom's hair was a mess, and she'd clearly been crying recently. Jessica was wearing clothes I'd never seen before, probably borrowed or from Goodwill since she couldn't afford her usual shopping habits. Dad just looked defeated and exhausted. "Can we come in?" Dad asked quietly. "We need to talk." I stepped aside and let them into my living room. Nobody sat down at first, like they weren't sure if they were welcome to get comfortable. Mom went first, which didn't surprise me. She's always been the family's spokesperson when they need something. "Honey, we know we made mistakes. Big mistakes. We should have remembered your birthday. We should have been more grateful for everything you do for us. We took you for granted, and that was wrong. Standard non-apology. Acknowledging mistakes without taking real responsibility." Jessica jumped in next. I had no idea I was spending so much on that card. I honestly thought it was just little things here and there. "I wasn't trying to take advantage of you. I can get a job and pay you back, I swear." With what skills, her resume was basically a list of failed business ventures and multi-level marketing schemes. Then Dad tried his approach. "Look, son, I know we messed up. We got comfortable and stopped appreciating what you were doing for us. But we're family. Family works through problems together." I just listened to the whole performance. When they were done, I asked them one simple question. "If I gave you everything back tomorrow, the credit cards, the phone plan, the streaming services, all of it, what would you do differently?" They looked at each other like they were trying to figure out the right answer. Jessica spoke first. "We'd be more grateful. We'd make sure to include you in things. We'd remember important dates." Mom added, "We'd pay you back when we could." Dad said, "Pay me back when they could include me in things. Be more grateful." Not one of them said they'd become financially independent. Not one of them offered to stop taking my money. They just wanted to manage the relationship better. So I'd be willing to keep funding their lifestyle. "You want to know what I realized over the past month?" I said. "I've given you guys over $31,000 in the past 6 years. $31,000, that's more than half my annual salary some years. That $31,000 could have been a down payment on a bigger house. It could have been a new truck. It could have been my retirement fund. Instead, it went to keeping you comfortable while you treated me like I was invisible, unless you needed something." Dad tried to interrupt, but I kept going. "You want to know the really pathetic part? I would have kept doing it forever if you just treated me like family instead of like a bank account. If you'd remembered my birthday, if you'd invited me to things, if you'd ever just once asked how I was doing, instead of what I could do for you." Mom started crying again, but this time it looked real. "So here's what's going to happen." I continued. "You have exactly 1 year to prove you can survive without my money. No credit cards, no co-signing, no bailouts, no monthly bills, nothing. If you can make it 35 days without asking me for a single dollar, maybe we can talk about having a relationship again." "And if we can't," Jessica asked, "then you'll know for sure that you never actually loved me. You just loved what I could do for you." The silence stretched for probably a full minute. Finally, Dad asked, "What if we really can't make it? What if we lose the house? Then you'll figure out what you can actually afford and live within those means, like everyone else in the world does." Jessica tried one more angle. "What about Christmas and birthdays? Are you really going to miss family holidays over this? Jessica, you missed my birthday 3 weeks ago to go shopping with my money. Don't lecture me about family holidays." They left without saying another word, and I was done with them. At least for now. Story 3. There are charges against Josephine. We require $120,000. At my door, my dad said, "You treated me like garbage after making fun of me in front of everyone at dinner. I'll cut them off if they continue to beg elsewhere. It began with one of those texts that you stare at for a long time before deciding whether or not to respond to. My mother gave me a brief sentence. "Come to supper with us, please." It matters. I didn't respond to the SMS. The phone call then arrived. I let it ring till I got a voicemail the first time, as soon as I took it up. She didn't make a direct request, but there was a hint of pressure in her voice that she utilized to get me to agree to things. I obviously didn't want to be involved. Everyone would come, she assured me, that they desired a discussion, that the moment had arrived. "Oh, you mean I should apologize again for something I didn't even do," I said. She didn't dispute it. "Don't do it for them," she says gently after pouring quietly. "Please do that for me." I think that was my only motivation for saying yes. I booked the reservation on my own. 10 seats, a separate eating area, a candlelight atmosphere, a view of the lake, and a cuisine so elegant that the chef would likely cry if someone asked for simple condiments. I wanted it to appear sophisticated, not for their benefit, but because I had to take charge if I wanted to act like this wasn't an act. I was also aware that they wouldn't anticipate something this well executed. They thought I would choose an inexpensive location near a highway. Knowing that I had set up something superior to anything they had ever done would annoy them. They were over 30 minutes late. With a coat slung over her shoulders, Josephine entered as if she were attending a major event. Indoors, she wore her sunglasses. As if he felt important, my father was wearing a blazer. My mother trailed after, grinning too much and looking around as if anticipating an ambush. I'd already taken a seat and was drinking a nice cocktail that I didn't even like. They sat down. I nodded in silence. My mother made an effort to strike up a discussion by praising the decor. Josephine's eyes rolled. For a minute, my dad just stared without saying anything. Then, without waiting for the server to move aside, he burst out laughing. He blundered, "I'd sooner chew trash than talk to you once again." Josephine started giggling. She laughed so loudly and annoyingly that it seemed like the greatest thing she had ever heard. "Did you hear that?" she said, turning to face the unfortunate man who was still pouring water. Honesty at last. Josephine continued, despite my mom's attempts to stop her reaching out. She began insulting me and calling me pathetic, said that I had the embarrassing tendency of always attempting to hold everyone together like a depressing piece of sticky tape. I probably planned the evening just to feel important for once, she informed the entire table. Then she began to applaud loudly and sarcastically. That was the last straw. I glanced at my mother. She appeared on the verge of losing it. I only said no quietly. I stood up, put my coat on the chair's back, and turned to go. Didn't look back or say anything. Though I assumed that was all, odd emails began to arrive in my mailbox less than a week later. Naturally not from them and not from anybody else. A name I was unfamiliar with. They contained databank statements and screenshots that I obviously wasn't supposed to have. At first I thought it was spam. Then I saw Josephine's company's name at the top of one of the PDFs. Something terrible was going to fall on her, but I wasn't aware of it yet. Furthermore, they had stated that they would come sluggishly, and I'd make sure they felt bad about making fun of me at that table when they did. The initial email was sent on a Thursday night. This is something you should read. There is no message within. There is only a file attached. And the name of the sender. It was obviously a phony, an arbitrary combination of numbers and letters. I thought it was a fraud. After hitting erase, I went to bed. After 48 hours, a new message surfaced. Identical source. 3 new files were included in this one. A few spreadsheets, PDFs, and a picture that looked like a conversation log from a work platform were included, but there was still no explanation. Reimbursements were mentioned in relation to someone named Paul who allegedly needed to be silenced. A third mail appeared, but I didn't open anything. And I couldn't ignore the name in the subject line this time. The Soma Tech District. Private information, prompt attention. That's where Josephine worked. It was instinct that made me click. No lock screens, no spyware. Document following document. Bank transactions between superiors, budget reports, and dozens more papers. Tens of thousands of dollars were regularly sent out to nameless numbered accounts after some of them reported suspicious payroll activities. However, I felt ill after reading one page. The message that said, "Send these through before a quarter close," had Josephine's name inked on it. No legal assessment is necessary. I continued to turn over another document displaying authorized cash payments to a fictitious business that had no internet presence that were marked as consulting. This was no mistake. It appears to have been staged. It appears dubious. It appeared that federal charges were involved. However, it wasn't until the subsequent communication that I realized the link. There was a line of text on this one. Your sister will have a severe fall. I thought you ought to be aware before it crashes. I was up till Monday. Mom had called me 6 times and I had ignored them. I picked up the 7 at last. Her voice was terrified. Josephine had fallen, she said. Some emergency, perhaps tension or her heart? It was unclear to the doctors if she was remaining for assessment. I inquired about her well-being. Mom claimed to be afraid. Joseph continues requesting you. I was surprised by it. I nearly said yes. I almost asked for the name of the hospital, but I didn't. My father then messaged me a few hours later. We must have an urgent conversation at your location. I read it without responding. They arrived at my door half an hour later. Dad had never been to my residence before. He appeared weak, as if his vitality had been sapped. Mom said nothing. She simply twisted her sleeves uncomfortably. I kept them out of the house. I remained in the entrance. Dad stated they needed my help and held out a warning folder. Said that Josephine was facing serious legal issues. Used phrases like government probe and criminal charges. Claimed that her money was blocked. Paul had her corporate laptop. Then he turned to face me and demanded $120,000. I was unable to stop laughing. It exploded from me. He winced. I told him that they would misunderstand me, that they thought I would always give in, that I was the one who planned everything, and that they made fun of me so severely that they couldn't even be polite at dinner. Mom took over. Claimed I didn't understand. Claimed to be afraid. Josephine said, was unaware of what she had signed, that everything was getting out of hand. Guilt gushing from their cheeks, I gazed at them both. I briefly thought about lending a hand. Then I recalled Josephine giggling and jeering at that table as if she were taking in a show. So I declined. I went on to say that I was already aware. Dad stopped. Mom tightened her jaw. I took a step back and shut the door. No one knocked again. 3 days passed before they sent me a message. I figured they were busy or embarrassed. Hiding Josephine's footprints. I didn't care about it. For the next few days, I did something new. Nothing at all. Didn't check my email. Did not pick up the phone. I strolled to a park close by, got a cup of coffee, and just sat on a seat. No mayhem. The phone did not buzz. Not guilty. It seemed serene, almost alien. Right up till Thursday morning, I turned on the news. Anticipated weather or little criminal activity. Rather, a headline surfaced revealing criminal charges brought against Josephine Bell, the CEO of Soma Tech District. I stared at the screen, a blurry still image of Josephine entering a courtroom with 2 suited guys at her sides. Clearly one was from federal law enforcement. Terms like financial crimes, misappropriation of corporate cash, and an official investigation in progress were mentioned by the news anchor. They said that accounting data spanning over 36 months had been provided by unidentified sources. A blown-up form with a handwritten signature that was currently being circulated online was then displayed on the screen. Her signature. Seeing everything I had previously studied in secret now be seen by the public was unbelievable. But then came the moment that left me speechless. They said my name out loud. According to insiders close to the investigation, the defendant's cousin just obtained inside records and could have been requested to help with financial support. I went cold. That information wasn't meant to be public knowledge. I hadn't talked to any reporters, I hadn't shared anything, and I hadn't released any documents. My phone exploded continuously in 10 minutes. Former coworkers, classmates, and even the man who leases my flat messaged me after seeing the news. You're correct. Then someone from a disguised number called. I typically don't pay attention to those, but this time I did. It was a reporter from a magazine with a finance concentration. He claimed to have contacts who indicated I helped uncover the wrongdoing at MAPCO. If I wanted to talk on record, he asked. I disconnected after telling him I didn't understand what he was saying. Then, however, an unexpected event happened. An hour went by. My front door was buzzed by someone. A voice I didn't recognize identified himself as Larry and indicated that he was the sender of the earlier emails. I don't need anything, he said. I just wanted to make things clear before they got worse. Despite my hesitation, I let him in. Wearing a pullover, old sneakers, and heavy circles under his eyes, as if he hadn't slept in days, he looked youthful, about 27. He crouched on the edge of my couch, clearly uncomfortable but not in danger. He clarified that he had previously worked at Machin in an intermediate financial role, but had been let go without explanation after becoming overly involved with the company. It was no accident that he had discovered the deception. He had audio snippets, saved drives, and the full discussion as proof. Josephine typed, "Fix this quietly or we all go down together in one discussion." Federal investigators had previously received materials from him. They were putting together a case. Then he said something that made me feel sick. He responded, "Your name was mentioned." I blinked. "What are you saying?" He gave a nod. Josephine tried to use my identity to execute money transactions when they found a preliminary draft of an unsent communication. It existed as a backup, but she never sent it. Thus, they had not only made me feel ashamed. In addition to asking for my funds when things went bad, my own blood, Josephine had prepared a contingency plan that would frame me in the event that everything went wrong. Shocked, I sang back. Larry stated he thought I should be alerted before the lawsuit started. He advised me to think about hiring legal counsel because subpoenas were already being served. I had little to say when he went. I just thanked him before closing the door. I got down at my computer right away and accessed all of his prior messages and documents. Since I had changed from someone fleeing a controlling family to someone being used as a fall guy, I sent the entire batch to one individual, an attorney with whom I hadn't communicated in years. I didn't get any sleep that night, out of rage, not fear. I kept thinking about that family meal with Josephine's mocking applause. She was going to place the blame on me after my father treated me as though I wasn't real. I collected everything and forwarded it to Bruce. He had been a classmate in law school. We had hardly communicated. There, in a tall glass tower downtown, he pursued high-stakes litigation. He once advised me to ask for help only once if I ever truly needed it, but I chose a more subdued route. "I'll be present." I made the decision to fulfill that pledge. He gave me a call back in 15 minutes. He did not research the backstory. "You'll want to get ahead of this coming tomorrow," he said. When I arrived at his office the next day, he already had a pile of documents with my information on them. A board covered in partially drawn dates and incidents and 2 hot drinks waiting. Something struck me at that moment. I should probably have been more concerned about this. He took it all at face value. Worse, he believed it to be serious. I described everything. The man named Larry is drafted by the saved message. My parents' unexpected visit and request for financial assistance. Josephine's tactful attempt to shift the blame to me. He remained motionless. He had apparently handled worse. Then he asked me an unexpected question. "Are you attempting to eliminate them or defend yourself?" I stopped. I explained to him that I didn't want anyone to suffer harm. In spite of everything, I didn't want to destroy my family. I just wanted to stay out of the spotlight for something I never did. All I needed was for them to leave my orbit, disconnected from anything with my name on it. He looked at me and calmly replied, "Then we'll accomplish both." Bruce composed a message. Ice cold, precise, and fully professional. It was sent to the attorneys working on Josephine's behalf, who we discovered had already been reaching out to past staff, possibly in an effort to quietly manage the situation. The letter spelled one point out clearly if my identity appeared anywhere in press statements. Courtroom materials or legal defenses, we would instantly pursue charges for libel, interference, and restitution. And Bruce was absolutely serious. That same day, he'd Larry Bird the note directly to the lead attorney at her firm. By the next morning, their representatives were on the line. They sounded unsettled. They denied everything. They claimed it was just confusion. They insisted there had never been any intent to name me. They expressed deep regret for any unease it caused. Bruce responded flatly, "Make sure your client fully understands that." Then he added with a smirk, "Because if she doesn't, everything will be made public." All of it. They backed off instantly, but that wasn't the end. Several days later, a new message arrived. It wasn't from a journalist, not from my mother, not from anyone I expected. It was from Josephine. Just one sentence. "Please meet me just one time. You don't need to talk, just listen." And honestly, for a brief moment, I almost replied. Then Bruce called, and what he told me flipped everything upside down. I hadn't touched Josephine's note. It sat unread like spoiled leftovers left on a counter. I kept waiting for more. Another text, a call, maybe even threats. But nothing came. Just that single message. She probably assumed my silence meant I was thinking it over. Maybe I was. Then Bruce phoned. He didn't waste any breath. "You need to know something," he said. One of his trusted sources, someone who owed him, caught wind of a sealed court motion. Her legal reps were pushing. It hadn't gone public yet. But here was the core. They were trying to make a deal with the prosecution. She'd cooperate, turn over identities, documents, and emails, everything they requested. In return, they'd decrease the rates. But here's the bit that wrecked me. My name was one of the individuals. She was ready to capitulate, not as someone to blame, this time as someone reportedly involved. An individual who could have accessed internal documents. Someone who apparently acquired secret facts and neglected to disclose them. A person who may have profited materially. Bruce stayed constant. I did not. I questioned how this could possibly be logical. I didn't work there. Until recently, I knew absolutely nothing. I hadn't spent a dime. That didn't matter, he said. Their willingness to spin it that way was what counted. If it caused any uncertainty, if it stuck even for a moment. Everything I'd spent years constructing might go apart, including screenings, professional harm, travel problems, and credibility loss. All because I was disposable in Josephine's eyes. Bruce then created a second document, this one unfriendly. He provided the court with an advance statement the next morning, along with all of the communications papers and the whole archive. For an added punch, Larry had Larry Bird set up a time for Larry to unequivocally demonstrate that I had nothing to do with the matter. He also formally demanded that my identity never be mentioned by Josephine's lawyers in any trial documents or hearings. We would file a lawsuit for Larry Bird right away if they did. A false charge. Bruce then sat back in his chair and stated that everything would spill if they pushed it much more. Within 2 hours, one of Josephine's law firm colleagues was on the phone suggesting that the threat was effective. They said that Josephine had no intention of naming me. They claimed to be changing the wording. They contend that the previous motion was misunderstood. Bruce instructed them to formally affirm it. They complied on paper, but things weren't finished yet. I got a new email later that evening. Not from Josephine. Larry did it. "There's more," he wrote. "Something I previously didn't reveal. You should see it now even if I wasn't sure you were ready." A wobbly, low-quality video clip that appeared to have been taken with a phone laying on a desk was attached. Josephine and my father appeared on the TV. They appeared to be sitting in their home study. Josephine seemed to be crying, or at least acting like she was. She continued to explain about how things were getting out of control, how she couldn't stomach going to jail, and how Joseph isn't even aware of what would happen if he is held accountable. He is the end of it. With a hesitant nod, my father said, "He'll be fine. He always manages to figure things out. He always does." I must have silently listened to it 20 times. At that point, my idea of family entirely disappeared. It didn't seem like betrayal to watch the clip. It had the feel of emotional aloofness. Like he was picking a lunch choice, the father who had assured me that I would always be his son talked nonchalantly about sacrificing me. I was no longer angry. I had total dissociation. Bruce wasn't shown the footage right away. I didn't want to add to the legal battle he was already managing. I needed a detailed strategy that would not only protect me, but also ensure that Josephine and my father understood they would not escape unscathed. I became totally mute as a result. For the days ahead, I skipped work, didn't check my inbox, and didn't answer my mother's calls. I remained in my flat. I already had everything I needed. Bruce's legal documents, Larry's folder of data. That video was terrible. I let everything to boil, going over every possibility and charting every outcome. Then I did something they would never have predicted. I set up an appearance in the public press. I know that seems dramatic, but wait a minute. It took me less than 2 days to organize everything. I got in touch with an investigative journalist I had known for years. A distinguished writer with a reputation for delving into familial deceit and private wrongdoing, she is hardly a glamorous network anchor. He was cautious, calm, and very aware of what I was carrying. He didn't insist on specifics. "Bring the documents to my office," he replied simply. He had his photography gear ready when I got there. I provided Tim Lorraine all of the preserved emails, all of the papers, the recorded video, and a detailed account of the previous several months. The treachery, the quiet, and the deceit. I maintained my composure. I wasn't looking for sympathy. I wasn't looking for trouble. All I wanted was the truth to be known. I instructed him to report everything. Then he posed a question that caught me off guard. "Why now, Joseph? Why speak up?" I gave him a glance and answered, "To ensure that they never get the opportunity to do this again and to safeguard my reputation." It wasn't me that was devastated. They attempted to eliminate me, and I'm not going anywhere. It wasn't simply a small headline the next day. It exploded all over. This was not considered a local dispute. It quickly became the subject of front-page news articles. The crisis involving Josephine's firm was only one aspect of the story. They also revealed the family's corruption. According to reports, Josephine had tried to hold me accountable for crimes in which I was not involved. They showed how my father had consented with knowledge, preparing to let me take the hit while seeming to be some noble patriarch. The response came instantly. Through Bruce, Josephine's legal team made the initial contact. They sought a settlement, of course. They acknowledged that a guilty plea was likely and that the evidence against her was indisputable. However, that wasn't the surprising aspect. The surprise, they asked whether I would be willing to make a statement to seem like a forgiving relative rather than to deny culpability. It was a stretch to say that I, Larry, was responsible for the charges. In fact, I laughed. It was almost gorgeous in its ridiculousness. I informed them that I would only talk under one unchangeable stipulation: complete immunity with no conditions or exceptions. My future, my identity, and my image. Complete protection. To clean up the mess they made if they needed my assistance. Every aspect would have to be admitted. Their lawyers fought back, but they finally agreed after a day of frantic negotiations. I met with Josephine's attorneys the next day in the building where her firm is located. The majority of the conference was ceremonial. I went over each page and signed the papers, thus distancing myself from the matter legally. They promised to make it public that I was not involved in the crimes. And the most appropriate of all twists. My dad never showed up, not even after the paperwork was completed and sent. One aspect of the legal language resonated with me even though the media circus had already begun to die down. The company's leadership officially removed Josephine's name. She is no longer the company's golden child. To deal with growing debts and legal challenges, the company itself was being auctioned off piece by piece. Her alleged pals had already left seeking their next chance. Everything they had constructed came tumbling down at that same instant. However, that was the beginning of true independence for me. No more bills, no more negative publicity, and no more harm to repair. As well as the media. They quickly lost interest. The clicks vanished as soon as they stopped. My mother sent me the last SMS 2 weeks later. "Josephine is done. I apologize, Joseph. I wish it could be undone." At that moment, something finally came to me, so I remained silent. Not all justice occurs in front of a court, and not every family is deserving of restoration. Regaining control of your story and deciding how it ends can sometimes lead to true victory. Share your thoughts below. Have you ever had to walk away from family to protect your peace? Drop your story in the comments, and if you've ever been underestimated, hit that like button and subscribe. We see you, and we've got more stories like this coming every week. Thanks for watching.